Hi folks, I'm Aleks U and you are awesome. As always, absolutely beautiful being. Thanks for watching. We've got the time on for 15 minutes and today's topic is the dream of self. I'm going to explain or go a little bit in details of what we mean here. But before we get into it, I've got an orange. This is a red orange by the way, and a grapefruit. When you smell something, especially when something's nice because it's a better experience, through the act of smelling, while the brain is processing the smell of whatever it is you're smelling, your brain or the mind stops. The ego stops. The story stops. So it's a very quick shortcut to get into the present moment. So we did that. It's a reminder that it's a little trick that you can use when you find yourself deep in your mind. If you catch yourself, of course, because that's the first step to actually ground yourself. So in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to put this aside. We're going to talk about the dream of self. For me, that's one of the most, not one of the most, it is the topic. And so we're gonna have had and we'll have more of the similar named topics and videos. But the dream of self, what we mean by that is that I live this life dreaming it as a self. For example, so let's get in details. So I, as in my own story, right? Like I'm very convinced, right? Taking myself as an individual, and that repeats billions of times for all individuals that we seemingly play in this planet. I have a dream of self as in I have obviously a story that I'm very convinced about. I'm not checking in with it all the time. I'm so convinced about it that it's a foundation of my narrative inside, right? And that comes from, obviously it always starts with a name because we label our individuals, so the human, with a name, right? I have a name. Obviously we give, confirm a gender, nationality, a culture, interests, and everything that I buy into and make part of my story, right? As a narrative, that self, that we can even use the word virtual self, that's a good one. But that mental image of self, right? It becomes a dream of self, like I am in it, dreamingly in my mind, right? Often having nothing to do with the physical manifested reality, right? But because we as humans, we have an impact to reality, obviously. So the dream that I dream is confirmed by the physical reality, because that's what I attract around it, right? So it comes from in out, right? So that it reconfirms the dream and I stay in the dream, again, reconfirms the dream. When things happen, they reconfirm my own dream of self and I stay in it. Very, very, it's the circle, or I should say, it's almost like a self-fulfilled prophecy, because I dream it inside, or I'm in my story, and then when things happen, and you say, oh, see, I told you so, right? See, these kind of experiences, they reconfirm your narrative, but it's not because life happened to you, but it's because you attracted this experience. But to the brain, that's very difficult to comprehend. The brain doesn't see like, oh, I created this in the world. The brain, and by the brain I mean the egoistic mind, the self that you believe you are, it always see everything as happening to it, from in something external to yourself. So living in that dream, first of all, it's become so addictive, right? You prefer to be in that dream all the time. Like if you look around, we are all daydreaming, and you've heard that, people have used that, right? I walk in somewhere, there's an activity of walking, but I am in my mind. And then I'm in my meeting, or on a dentist chair, or I'm in the grocery store. I do everything through this dream. Sometimes I'm deeper in the dream, sometimes less, but every action I have is within the dream. And here's another confirmation that you are in a dream and you are asleep. As you get older, as we call it, the dream has solicited, or solidified is the word actually, solidified, gotten deeper in and more confirmed to you. And you can catch yourself often to say, I don't do anything anymore, and be more afraid of taking steps, actions, risks, whatever. Because the dream has become so real to you that living from this image, virtual image, you don't want to do anything. You're afraid that it's going to ruin this image, right? Or possibility of ruining this image, right? For example, my image is about who I am and the amount of money I have, and how I've planned my future, and family and friends and whatever, and my comfort that I've created mentally. But my soul, my being really wants to try to be a rollerblade instructor. Just came up as an example in my mind. Now, do you dream that the self that you're dreaming inside? No, there's no way I'm taking this. There's no money in this. I've planned the future. This is risky. My dream, or the narrative here of how my future is going to be, right? The narrative, that self, that is always the conversation. I look at my bank account. Oh, I don't know. Like, I don't want to take this risk, right? Because it's outside of the dream of this virtual self, or this, it's, what's the best way to say? Yeah, I guess you can say this mind-created self, right? That is gonna potentially suffer because you, the being you, wants to experience being a rollerblade instructor. See, your soul doesn't care about this narrative, right? Your being, right? It doesn't care about it. It wants to experience the experience of rollerblading, being a coach of rollerblade. It doesn't think about money. It doesn't think about future, past. It doesn't have these concepts because to it, it's unreal, right? It's only this narrative that you have that projects itself in the future that could potentially suffer from now wanting to experience this narrative, this experience of rollerblade instructor, right? And this goes with everything. Like, for example, let's say you're a single individual and you want to approach a person that you find attractive. Why do you think it's so difficult for us to do that? Because your story, right? The narrative of self, this dreaming self you have in your mind, projects so many possible wrong things that could happen from this experience that it actually stops the action. Okay? So what happens is chances are you're not gonna go say hi because this is happening inside your brain, and your being that wants to experience this, to see what will happen if I expand this action, right? I have no idea. But the being isn't afraid, because to the being that you are, the wonderful being, if I go say hi and they say, hey, don't bother me, I'm busy, not interested in talking to you right now, my being knows it doesn't change. It's just as great. Your being did not change. It had an experience of walking to this person, right? Said hi. It was the person that didn't reciprocate, didn't want the conversation. And I came back and said, oh, okay, that was an interesting experience. I didn't change. I had an experience. That's it, right? To the ego self, to this dreaming self that you have. And by dreaming could sound that is a good thing. It isn't a good thing. You're dreaming it. It's never a good thing, right? The self. It's not a real thing. So to it, first of all, to go up and say hi, could be so many conversations that could prevent you. But let's say that you overcame them. And these conversations, they create feelings of anxiety, of being nervous, right? To say the least. If your being overcame this and said, no, I'm more interested than this, and you went up to say it, and it happened that this person isn't interested in talking to you, then the self-inflicted drama and conflict inside, guilt, and I told you so happens, right? You go back, see, yeah, I told you, Humans are this is a negative experience. You got turned down, it's because of you. Your hair doesn't look good. You're too short, too tall, too fat, too skinny, too white, too black, too this, too that. That is the self that I'm talking about. It's this narrative that is extremely degrading to your being, right? It puts a chain to all the possibilities that you can have as a being on this planet. Not only the possibilities, but the narrative that comes around it. Even if you do something, it's so judging often, right? Different level of judging depending on how strong this story is. But it's gonna happen to every single being. So this conversation is to stir you a bit and say, wait a minute. I am dreaming of self. Or what would it be if I didn't have this really deeply rooted belief that I'm this self, which comes with, years of thought and emotions that are in, right? Kind of supporting this dream. To start the conversation, to look inside, right? I'm telling you, it could happen quick to wake up of this dream, but often it takes time, as in the waking up is instantaneous, but it takes time measured in time, as in to get to this waking up moment, which is instantaneous, you need to experience it over and over again, the going back to the self and coming out and say, wait a minute, right? This gonna almost, itself is an experience, which we say personal growth, where we can get stuck in itself. But it seems like we need, the average person needs to go through this experience to wake up. But it's a step, right? Even if it's not an instantaneous waking up from the dream of self, it's a step towards it, and sooner or later everybody wakes up, because it's the only purpose you have, right? Being asleep after being awake, right? Or being the awake, playing the game of being asleep. The only thing you could have as a purpose is to wake up again, right? There is no other purpose. In the dream, you can have many purposes, right? Because that's what the dream is. It's potentiality of purposes, none of them which will ever give you any meaning or satisfaction or answers. They'll just give you another experience, another experience, another experience. But as you wake up of the dream of self, or even the attempt to wake up to it, and that process is not active, meaning you don't have to fight the dream to wake up. All you gotta do is question it. Question the dream of self, the dream you have about the self. And everything you do, everything you believe in, every feeling you have, just put a question and say, is this real? Is this what I am? Am I repeating these experiences every single day? Is it the same story in my head every single day? Is it possible that I be, without this narrative, the self that I'm dreaming, and the feelings, the anxiety, all that it brings to me? Can I be without the conversations here? Can I be without the feelings, the pain, the drama, the self-inflicted negative emotions that I experience, sometimes all the time, sometimes at different levels during the day? Can I exist without it? And what am I without it? Without it, you are the experiencer, which is by default. It does not depend on the self that you're dreaming. It doesn't depend on the feelings that are generated by the self you're dreaming. The being that you are has always been and always will be. There's nothing you can do to hurt your true self. The story that you have can inflict a lot of suffering to you as an experience, and to the body, right? Get it, age it, and make it sick. That's for sure. We can verify that. But the true self that you are behind, that is not visible, neither it's explainable, but it's definitely something you can feel, because that's what you are. Well, here we go. The 15 minutes measured in time is up. The dream of self is a wonder. It's, I shouldn't say a wonderful, because it isn't a wonderful experience, but it is an experience. But you could take it as wonderful, as in, I fell asleep, I suffered in the sleep, right? Like time in and out. And the wonderful part of it is that it is a dream. And because I'm able to feel that dream and the suffering that I've gone through, I can understand, the opposite of that is the total peaceful, joyful totality that I am. Not a dream of separate, small, painful, you can say, and weak, separated I. This was 15 minutes of mind triumph. The topic was the dream of self, or dreaming of yourself. I enjoyed it. I'm gonna go squeeze these fruits and have a good juice to pick myself up. Citrus fruits in the winter. I am hoping that you're having a wonderful day wherever you are, and looking forward to the next 15 minutes next weekend. Drop me a line, suggest a topic. Always looking forward to your comments or suggestions. You're a wonderful being. That's period. There's no questions about it. You're wonderful. Until next time, and until then, less ego and a lot more joy. Bye.